We'll go ahead and get started to be respectful of everyone's time. I hope you guys are having a wonderful Wednesday. I'm happy to say that the sun seems to be trying to peek out here in Wake Forest, which is making me happy after 3 days of rain. Just as a reminder, this phone call is primarily for our transit systems. It is not for the press. These calls will be recorded and posted following the call, along with the slides and any other information with respect to questions posed and answers. So we'll go ahead and get started. Today we have a relatively brief agenda. We'll be giving you an update on the CARES Act implementation, an update on the SMAP and ROPE update and guidance, NC Transit CARES, and then also we'll wrap up with the next steps and any questions you all may have. Just as an update for CARES Act, I'll be going over the system application status, give you a little bit information about DocuSign, some questions that we've had posed to our administrators on that, and then wrap up with the PPE. So currently we have 77 out of the 78 systems having submitted their applications within EBS, and 30 agreements have been executed. I expect that number to go up since I've been signing off on several already today and yesterday. So I think that's great. I just want to give a shout out to our staff on being able to get through those applications as quickly as possible, and hopefully you feel the same way. For 5307 CARES Act applications, we have 13 that are at the level 2 approval and 1 that has just been submitted. We have had a lot of questions with respect to DocuSign, and we may end up having another primer in the future if questions continue. A lot of it boils down to how DocuSign works in the workflow. So as somebody creates an envelope, they really need to know the proper emails for routing. So it's very important that we understand, who in your agency, in your group, needs to sign these documents so that we can send it through the first time. If for some reason it has to be changed or remedied, then it has to go back to the originator for any changes or corrections. And due to, the furloughs, while we've tried to stagger them as much as possible, that can cause delays. So, please, talk to your MDSs when it comes to the time of signing these documents so that we know, who properly needs to sign off on these agreements to reduce any delays in execution. As a reminder, as I mentioned last week, FTA will be sending us masks to distribute to systems. We have not seen these masks yet, so I don't know whether they're the normal hospital grade masks or whether they are, the N95 masks. Obviously, depending on what kind of masks they are, will depend on how, we are going to be able to ship. But what we need right now from you guys, first and foremost, is just an idea of the number of staff that you have that will be needing masks. Whether you need masks, perhaps you've already been able to secure masks for your employees and you feel like you're in good position. And those questions can all be answered through the smart sheet that has been set up by Blair, and he will be sending out a reminder with the links to those documents after today's call. The SMAP and ROPE policy changed. Just as a reminder, we are allowing you to retain any unspent funds from last year to this next fiscal year. Currently, we've had 98 policies returned, and there are 14 outstanding with extension requests. I also want to make sure that you submit a policy even if funds have not been spent in case documentation does not match. And a reminder that the reports are due by the end of July. So keep those deadlines in mind, and hopefully we can move forward on getting that wrapped up. We are also on July 22nd going to host the NC Transit Cares from 10:30 to 1 p.m. A survey has been sent out to all systems. We are asking that you complete it by the end of this month. However, I will say that we haven't received a lot of responses yet, so please do take time. I realize it's not the shortest survey that's out there, but it's very important for us to get this information from you prior to the meeting so that we can make the best use of our time, your time, when we convene on July 22nd. In addition to the question about the masks, the email that's from Blair after this meeting will also include the link to the survey in case you have misplaced it. So next steps. I think the most important next step is that we have received information from NCPTA on suggested people to participate in the work group. This is going to represent both large and small systems all across North Carolina, so it's to be very representative of our systems. We will also have people on the work group from NCDOT and also NCPTA leadership. We have not scheduled that meeting as of yet, but it should come in the next week or two as I look at everyone's calendar to determine the best available time. Also, starting next call, we'll be moving to bi-weekly. It seems that a lot of the pressing questions everyone has are being answered, and we want to make sure that we are respectful of your time. So the next call will be July 1st. With that in mind, I just want to reassure you that if there's anything that occurs in between scheduled calls that is of importance to all transit systems, we will go ahead and send the information out. I know on the back of your minds, a lot of you are aware that the legislature is out right now determining budgets, and I'm sure that's going to be of great interest to all of our systems. So as I know more about that, I will certainly share that information with the group via email as I expect it to occur before July 1st. Or I hope that we have some information before July 1st. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Blair if there's any questions. Okay. The initial questions seem to include everyone, then it went to staff specific. What will happen if the governor mandates masks statewide? Will this be client responsible or will we have to provide? I'm concerned about this being an unfunded mandate. That's a great question. I've sat on several calls in other states where there is a mask mandate, and they've handled it very different ways. I mean, some transit systems actually have vending machines for masks. Some just require folks to raise their shirt to cover their mouth. So there's a wide gamut of what is expected of both the riders. At this point, I've not heard of any mandate for all people outside. I think the best thing that we can do at this point is continue to provide the PPE for our drivers and to encourage, safe practice of both our riders, including wearing PPE if it's available to them, as well as, increase social distancing, on the bus and increase cleaning. Please address House Bill 77 in regards to removal of all rope funds. So yes, the House bill that is currently out right now does have very drastic cuts in to IMD, and we are in the process right now of addressing those cuts and making those needs known. Again, I don't want to overly worry people because, this is still the draft. We don't know what the final budget bill is going to show. So we are providing additional information to the legislature to hopefully inform their decision. Would you please extend the claim submission date to August 31st, 2020? Many of the vendor invoices are delayed and makes it difficult to submit the claims by July 30th in a normal year. Thank you for your consideration. I think we addressed this before, but Tammy, I will defer to you. I believe we said that we would extend claim submissions, but if you could verify.
Actually, in this case, I think you and I need to discuss it one more time before we post a decision.
I'll jump in. This is Myra. That decision, the deadline date was not made by IMD. It was made by the first floor in order to balance the state budget for the state fiscal year end audit. That date cannot be changed. So my advice to all of you is to get as much of your expenditures in by July the 30th. We are aware there may be some that will have some after the 31st. So you just have to submit those in another claim. All expenditures must be in as many as you can by July the 30th. That is not a deadline we set. So we can't change that date.
Thank you for that clarification. And I think what Myra is talking about is the closeout of the budget. So, things obviously, slow down as we transition from one fiscal year to another. So I would definitely encourage you to get things done in as quickly as possible. Next question, submitting a CARES Act claim for expenses such as fuel, driver salary, etc. Because those costs are factored into the cost per mile and the 5310 elderly disabled grant reimbursement is based on the cost per mile, we will need to deduct the 5310 federal reimbursement claim amount from the CARES Act reimbursement claim amount we request. I mean, you would have to, anything that's 5310 related would have to be deducted from CARES Act because it's not an eligible expense. It's only 5311 and 5307. So yes. LGC extended audits until December 31st. Tammy, Tammy or Myra, if you want to answer that question.
To be honest, I have not paid much attention to the LGC audits, so I'll look that up and we'll post that to make sure. I mean, I'm guessing you're right, but I will verify.
Okay. The next question is, what is the LGC audits? And Tammy, that would be for you too.
Yeah, it's a local government commission that requires an annual single audit done by certain transit systems. I believe they're over, it's over a certain dollar threshold.
Okay, I am not seeing any additional questions. So as promised, this will be a shorter call than was scheduled. There's another one. Will the rope report be revised so that RGP, excuse me, can be transferred to EDTAP? Is Carolyn on?
I can answer that. If the report does not allow you to move RGP money to EdTap, then it will be revised because you should be able to do that. So hopefully Carolyn's out there and she and I will get together and make sure that gets done.
And according to Kai, the report has already been revised. And the same applies for EdTap being transferred to employment. I mean, but they should be able to be transferred between all of those funds. The question was, has it been posted to the website? If it has not, and Kai says it has not, we will make sure that that is posted as soon as possible. Next question was, can EdTap transfer to RGP?
I'm pretty sure that's a no.
The question, the next question is where is House Bill 77? I'm not sure what the question is, if you're looking for the actual language or if you're asking, where it is in the process of being, the approval process. So if you could type in respective process. Okay. I don't know. I just received the language myself yesterday or early this morning to know, what was even in there. So obviously we were a little bit surprised by the cuts that were proposed to IMD's budget. And, Julie and I have been in discussions about that already this morning to respond.
Oh, that was just because it didn't get all the way turned.
How long would we transport the public if no rope funds? Or excuse me, how would we transport the public if no rope funds? Carol, that is a good question. And, obviously that is a concern that we are trying to share with the legislature. Cuts to rope and SMAP, certainly to this level, were not our intention. We do understand that there needs to be cuts due to balancing the budget for fiscal year 21, but it was our intent to maintain those funds as much as possible. So again, this is a concern that we share with you, and we are trying to work through it as best as we can. And I just want to reiterate, as we wait to see if there's any more questions, as soon as we know more about the budget, we obviously know it's going to impact our systems greatly. We will let you know as soon as we know anything. We will not be waiting for a call. As soon as we get anything definitive, that I'm able to share with you, I will be sharing that with you to try to be as transparent as possible. Understanding that, this is very difficult times with, just dispersing of the CARES Act money to try to, bolster your coffers, as well as just the, the unforeseen impacts to systems moving forward. We're doing the best we can, and we will, as partners in this, we will give you as much information as we can as soon as it is made known to us. So someone just added to the statement that you really need to contact your representatives. If this happens, basically the cuts to SMAP and ROPE, we would definitely need a second and third round of allocations for CARES. Yes, I mean, certainly we are already looking into that second round of allocation of CARES funding. That's one of the reasons why we're convening this work group to determine the best way to do so. Our hope again was that there would be, funding in that third round to possibly offer statewide capital investments. However, our priority is for you guys to be able to continue your operations. So if that third tranche of money needs to go completely to operations, that will be the priority. Is contacting a representative considered lobbying? I don't know. All I know is that I'm not allowed to lobby, so I would defer to those within our group who have better knowledge of that.
That would be a good question for NCPTA.
One of the respondents claims that it's not, it's just letting them know your thoughts about the budget. But again, I'm not an expert on lobbying, so I will defer to the experts. Someone is posted that they're very concerned that if these funds are cut, that they will never be added back to future budgets. The CARES Act is helpful, but only temporary. And we within IMD, in addition to upper management, shares that concern. This was one of the things that we were fearful of, was doing any drastic cuts in any one fund that we get through appropriations, that it could affect future funding. That is one of the reasons why in our proposal we did not touch SMAP and ROPE to this level. Certainly not to the level that it is right now. And we're just hoping that it is a misunderstanding with respect to the value and the importance of SMAP and ROPE. So as I indicated before, we are providing additional information to them to let them know that that this is a very significant issue with respect to cutting funding to our systems. And Carol just wants to continue to say that she contacts her representative all the time. So again, the House Bill 77 is out, it is public. I encourage you guys to work with NCPTA as much as possible to, reinforce the importance of these funds. And as I know more definitively, I will let you guys know. Okay, we'll give everyone just one more minute just in case there's another question. If not, we will wrap up until July 1st and certainly keep you abreast as soon as we know more about the budget and the impacts to our systems. Someone asked the question, how about our tab members contacting instead of us? I'm not sure what tab stands for, but again, I think using all of the channels that you have available to just reinforce how important it is, this funding is for your systems, I think I can do nothing but encourage you to do so. All right, well, I thank you all for your time. It's currently 1:30. I'm not seeing any additional questions or comments. We'll go ahead and wrap it up for today. Again, a reminder, our next call will be July 1st at the same time. You should have received a calendar invite of that from Blair earlier this week. If you have any questions outside of our normal scheduled call, feel free to reach out to us. And again, as soon as I know more about the budget, as it becomes finalized, I will let you know. You all have a great afternoon and a wonderful rest of your week.